ready? Okay, so hello everybody. Thank you very much for coming and watching the presentation today. So as the talk for the presentation said, as a marketer, one of our long-term goals is to increase the customer lifetime value. But with so much digital transformation happening at the moment, this is actually proving pretty difficult. And the e-commerce industry is actually struggling from this with a double-edged sword. So yes, online transactions are up, but as a consequence, there's changes to the shopping experience, and brands are really fighting for that customer retention amongst fierce competition. So I'm Rachel Katadia, the head of marketing here at RedEye, and I'm really passionate about encouraging more marketers to better use the customer data that they have. So over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to go through some actionable, data-driven ideas that can help you secure customers and drive revenue now, because like the title for the presentation says, you can't wait a lifetime for lifetime value. But I'm not actually going to start off by recapping the last 18 months, because unless any of you have been hiding in a bush, I don't need to tell you that the world's been changing. You've all been living and breathing it in your social lives and at your businesses. But I think what we can all agree on is actually the opportunity that it presents. So actually, it's only onwards and upwards for e-commerce. And this huge stat on screen says by 2040, it's estimated that 95% of purchases will be made online. That's huge. So actually, now is the time for e-commerce brands to uncover what those challenges are and find solutions to them. So for those of you that might not have heard of RedEye before, we're an AI-driven marketing automation company. And with our technology, along with the expert support that we offer, we help brands grow and scale their marketing automation campaigns. And we've been doing this successfully for 25 years. So over that 25 years, we've actually accumulated a nice proportion of retail and e-commerce brands. And I actually was able to speak to some of those today to get a bit of an understanding of what are some of the challenges that the e-commerce industry is actually facing right now. And so on screen, you'll see this is a selection of the things that they were telling me. So right from understanding what product should I be selling, stock issues, resources, maybe struggling against e-commerce giants like Amazon, or just generally customer retention. So I'm sure all of you in this room can relate to at least one of these challenges on screen. So as I said, RedEye, we're a data-driven marketing expert with a real passion for automations. So what I'm going to do is go through some ideas of ways that you can better use your customer data or an automation to hopefully help you overcome 6 of these challenges. So we're going to go through 6 today. So the first one I'm going to start with is a growing single purchases segment. Okay, so this is a pool of customers within your customer database that have only ever purchased with you once. Now, actually, this segment can be pretty big at this time of year after your peak or Black Friday campaigns or January sale campaigns, because quite often a customer might purchase with you for the first time in response to any offers or discounts that you might have. But there's no point having a huge customer database if a proportion of them have only ever purchased with you once. We need to work on driving those repeat purchases and get that lifetime value from your customers. With CPCs rising, it's important to do this now. And actually, there's only a 27% chance that a single purchaser will purchase with your brand again if they get left alone. So the likelihood that they will keep purchasing with you grows the more and more sticky they get with that brand. So they're 45% more likely to purchase with you again after 2 purchases, and then 54% more likely to purchase with you again after 3 purchases. So really, really important, like I said, for us all to think about trying to drive that multi-purchase customer. And actually 32% of customers also will make their second purchase within the first 12 months of the brand. So again, really vital to act now if you accumulated some new customers from your peak or Black Friday sales. But actually, what are you doing to drive that second purchase? You can't just sit back and wait and expect a brand to come to you. So my first recommendation to you all today is to develop a first to second purchase campaign. And there's 3 areas that you can consider for this campaign. The first one is actually timing. Many brands fail to time the sending of this campaign correctly. So you can conduct an RFM analysis of your data, and actually you can use that to determine when a customer is most likely to purchase and use that as your trigger of when to send the campaign. But also, think about this as a journey, a series of emails potentially. What are the sorts of things that you can put in that emails to really encourage that customer to make a second purchase? Maybe it's your latest offers, but also have you thought about the latest trends, recommendations, complementary items, the things that they might have purchased before? And then finally, think about segmentation. So this pool of single customers on itself, you can segment that further to really get maximum effect from your first, second purchase campaign. So there's different levels that you can go through. So the first one is just sort of basic segmentation. So look at those customers that are most engaged. For example, who's been browsing on your website in the last 30 days, because they're kind of already showing signs that they might be looking to make that second purchase. Or how about you even segment by spend value? So look at those that might have spent over or under your AOV and make sure you send a different message to how much they have originally spent with you. And the final one then is predictive analytics. So using artificial intelligence and predictive analytics, you can then predict out of your customer base who is most likely to make that second purchase. And here at RedEye, we have a first to second purchase predictive model. So you can overlay that on your data, and that will help you identify and predict those individuals that are most likely to send. And you can trigger that automated campaign to those individuals. So the second challenge we're going to address then is converting browsers into buyers. So we could talk about website personalization, but actually I'm going to talk about how you can drive that sale through email and automation. So my second recommendation is upgrade your basket abandonment campaign. Now, first off, if you don't have one live, this is a really valuable campaign to get live to secure any revenue that might have already lost. But if you do have it live, hopefully here's some ways that you can upgrade that campaign. So first things first, make sure that you include the basket items in there. You wouldn't believe how many retailers still send a basket abandonment emails just saying you've left something in your basket. So include those items to really show that customer what they're missing out on. But also, maybe think about spend stretch and increasing that AOV. Have you thought about including recommended for you or complementary items? Another way is think about using dynamic content within this email as well. So for example, if you have a VIP or loyalty club, then show the customer that you recognize who they are and put that as a banner or an image or something within your basket abandonment campaign. And quite often, people in VIP clubs often maybe have free delivery. So if you have free delivery and you know a customer has that, again, put that in your basket abandonment email. All those small little nudges can hopefully help to get your customer from a browser to a purchaser. And then the final one is acknowledging what their preferred payment option is. So if they prefer to pay by Apple Pay, show them the Apple Pay CTA. Or if they prefer to pay by Klarna and have a Klarna account, then show them that pay by Klarna sort of CTA. Anything that's going to help make it easy and seamless for your customer to turn from a browser into a purchaser. So the third challenge we're going to talk about then is dealing with stock issues. So many of you might be struggling with this, with the aftermath of any Brexit trading or supply chain issues from the pandemic. And we all know, as I said at the beginning, competition is just a simple click away. So we need to think about how can we actually provide our customers that good experience so they'll come back to us rather than go to a competitor. So here, that recommendation is create a back in stock campaign, and you can do that in 3 simple ways. Firstly, you need to actually collect the data. So if your customer's on your website browsing and you unfortunately have an item that's out of stock, simply show them the notification where they can put their email address in and be notified when it comes back in stock. So you can collect that data, and by collecting that data, you're already one step closer towards securing that sale. Then secondly, make sure you bring your stock data into your single customer view so that it's immediately actionable next to the pool of people that have identified they want to buy that product when it's back in stock. And then thirdly, use your marketing automation tool to trigger that automated campaign to them when that product is back in stock. And this is a really highly successful campaign because those customers have already identified that they're really interested to buy that product. So we've got a client called eCommerce who is like a part work publisher with a wide range of collectibles. And when they reviewed their customer life cycle, they noticed that actually some customers were lapsing when a particular product was out of stock. So we helped them launch a personalized back-in-stock campaign, which also included transactional and behavioral data, as well as stock levels, to help them secure that purchase and that transaction over their competitors. And so let alone it's got really high open and click rates, this one single campaign contributes to 6% of their email revenue. So a small campaign, but which is highly valuable. So the fourth one I'm going to talk about is customers having higher expectations. So customers expect more and more from the brands that they interact with and spend their hard-earned cash with, and they really expect to get good experiences. So this next recommendation is a little bit counterintuitive. When I said I was going to provide you ideas to make money and drive revenue, this isn't revenue generating in the short term, but it will help you retain more customers that will then purchase with you eventually. So the recommendation here is to build a snooze microsite. So that's an area where you can collect the preferences of your customers that may want to snooze their emails, they may want to pause it, or even just opt out of a particular campaign. So the most common example running at the moment is Mother's Day. So you might be sending all of your customers these emails and offers that you think are wonderful, but actually some of your customers might find this time of year a little bit upsetting. So by building a snooze microsite and offering your customers the chance to opt out of those emails, you're securing that customer rather than them getting them to unsubscribe. Now, Bloom and Wild are very much a sort of leader in this sensitive communications, but we actually are seeing quite a lot of other brands do it and see the value in it. And one of them is our client, Hobbycraft. So Hobbycraft, they say they strive to put their customers first. So with Mother's Day coming up, they wanted them to be able to opt out of anything they might not be comfortable seeing. So we helped them get a snooze microsite live so they could easily opt out of emails from that campaign. And what I really liked is Hobbycraft did that because they thought it was the right thing to do, as well as help them protect that lifetime value and engagement from their brand. But this is an example where it can happen at a specific campaign at any point, at a time of the year. But actually, snoozing can happen all time. So we've got another client called Papa John's who actually uses a snooze microsite all the time. So when a customer goes to unsubscribe, they actually offer them the option to snooze their emails for 30, 60, or 90 days instead. And Papa John's saw a 30% reduction in unsubscribes by simply allowing the customer to choose to pause, versus unsubscribe fully. And we all know, as soon as somebody's unsubscribed from your brand, you've pretty much lost that customer forever. So the fifth challenge we're going to talk about then is retaining more customers. And I know this is a really, really big one. So nobody wants a business that's a leaky bucket. So we all know, obviously, you can acquire and acquire and acquire, but if you're losing too many customers underneath, it's no good for the long-term value of your brand. And we all know that it's 5 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than it is to retain a new one. But it's actually a lot easier to sell to those existing customers. So it's 60 to 70% easier to sell to a current customer versus 5 to 20% harder to sell to a new customer. So the recommendation here is to get a data-driven lapsed campaign live. And the key word here is data-driven. So again, if you have one already live, then maybe there's some ways here that we can help you upgrade that. But if you don't have that live, then maybe there's an idea for you to launch that within your brand. So the first level of a sort of a data-driven lapse campaign is you could look at a business time frame. So that's, as a brand, you could go, we're going to identify that somebody is lapsed from our brand after, let's say, 12 months. So after 12 months of not making a purchase with you, then you can trigger that reactivation campaign, maybe with a really exciting, enticing offer to draw them back. But there's 2 problems with that. After 12 months, you might have already lost some of your customers. They might have already churned for good, so it might be too late. But also, some of your customers might be looking to just purchase pretty soon. So by sending them an offer and a discount, you're actually losing on revenue that you didn't need to lose out on. The second, then, is slightly more sophisticated use of your data, and that's looking at purchase frequency segments. So again, off your back of your RFM analysis, you can see, are there groups of segments of customers that have similar purchasing patterns? So you could, for example, identify that there is a group of customers that normally purchase every 3 months. So if they haven't purchased by month 4, then you can use that as the trigger for your lapsing campaign. So it's looking at groups of customers, of segments with similar behavior. So the third then, which is the most sort of sophisticated, is again using AI and predictive analytics. And here at RedEye, we have a predictive churn model which you can layer on top of your customer data to again predict the likelihood that somebody will churn. And then you can use that to trigger your automated reactivation campaign to each individual customer at their ideal and most likely moment of lapsing. So again, we have a client that's using this model, All Beauty. So All Beauty are a fast-growing online beauty retailer, and they used to have a reactivation campaign triggered after 15 months. But they were then realizing that they weren't catching their customers soon enough, and some of them, they were losing them forever, and obviously losing out on that potential revenue as well. So we helped them do an analysis of their customer data, and we all started to realize that each customer is unique from the products they purchase, from how much they spend, from how often they purchase. So they needed to use their data more effectively. So that's when we helped them launch the predictive churn model on top of their customer data. And now All Beauty were able to trigger their reactivation campaign to each individual customer at their own unique moments of lapsing. So this helped them engage and retain a larger proportion of their lapsing segment, but also a 518% increase in revenue from that lapsing segment compared to when they were using the 15-month time frame before. So the final challenge I'm going to go through is limited team resources, and I feel like everyone might be struggling with this at the moment. And here's a stat that I actually saw from Marketing Week last week, and they said that 27.9% of marketers changed jobs in the last 12 months. That's huge. And so I know 2021 was said to be this year of the Great Resignation, but I actually think that's going to continue into 2022 as well. So that this might then be leaving gaps within your teams. So the recommendation here is to simply increase the number of automated campaigns you have live. The more automated campaigns you have live, the more marketing you can be doing, which is taking you less time and it's taking up less resources. You can become more efficient and you can achieve this level of personalization at scale. So ultimately, you can set all these campaigns up to run in the background. And I'm still amazed, actually, at how many brands don't have automated campaigns set up or don't even have many. And sometimes 80% of marketers, last year credited automation as one of the biggest contributors of their success. So it's really something that you can maximize and use if you've got limited resources in your team. So I have gone through a few examples of automated campaigns you can get set up, but more broadly, they fit into 3 different parts. So you can trigger a campaign at the perfect time in your customer's experience with your brand. You can trigger to recognize where your customer is within the life cycle. So maybe they've just come on board and it's a welcome campaign, or maybe they're looking to churn and it's that lapsing campaign. Or maybe even actually just better use of your customer data and really using it to personalize and contextualize any piece of content within your marketing campaigns. So again, with these campaigns, you can set them up in the background and they can automatically trigger based off your customer behavior or your customer data. And we've got clients that have thousands of automations set up, which can sometimes bring up to 60% of their email revenue. So if you think you can set them all up to run in the background, you can make money for your brand in your sleep, and then when you come to work in the day, you can focus on more strategic tasks. So I'm not actually also saying you should go from 0 to 1,000 automations in one go. You should think about it from your brand and grow and scale. And actually, if you've got really good strategic support from your automation provider, they can actually help you map that out and look at what customer data that you do have. And so what are some quick win campaigns? What are maybe some of the more challenging campaigns you can get live? What sort of data do you need? And maybe which ones are the more innovative ones to reach at? So my advice here would be just set yourself a realistic goal of maybe how many automations that you want to get set up in 2022. So, coming to the end of the presentation now, so I'm just going to sort of recap. These are the sort of challenges that I've addressed and the solutions that I recommend. So first is getting that second purchase campaign live to really encourage your database to become multi-purchases. Then it's upgrading that basket abandonment campaign so you can turn more browsers into buyers. Then to get that back in stock campaign live so you can really capitalize on the experience that your customer will get and they'll purchase with you over your competitor. Then creating that snooze microsite so you can reduce the amount of unsubscribes that you're getting and keep that healthy, valuable size database. Then also maybe creating a data-driven lapsed campaign so you can retain a larger proportion of your database. And then finally, so just increase the amount of automations that you've got live running at your brand. So just before time's up, I am actually going to leave you with one more bonus recommendation. So another challenge that was identified is actually, how can I choose the right tech or the right partner to help my brand grow and scale? So I'm just going to leave our logo on there. And so when the time is right, or if you might like to speak about growing and scaling your marketing automations, my final recommendation is RedEye might be a good place to start. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions at all?
When you were talking about automations, what's a platform that you recommend to setting them up?
So I would say ourselves, because we're RedEye marketing automation platform, but it really depends on the size of, and where your sort of business is on that sort of sophisticated scale, and how many automations you've got live, what data you're collecting. But if you get the right partner, they can really help your brand grow and scale, which is what we like to do. Okay. If nobody else, thank you very much, guys.